everyone. Chill Girl Chrissy here, Alderman. Welcome to the Chill and Heels show. So grateful that Steve Stepanek is joining us from Florida, senior advisor for President Trump, former state rep, and former chair of the GOP of New Hampshire. Welcome, Steve.
Well, thank you so much, and welcome to you. It's a little bit warmer and sunnier here, I think, than it is in New Hampshire.
Yes, definitely. I actually had to use my hairspray when I came in the studio to get off all the snow and refluff.
Oh, is it snowing out again?
It is snowing. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So that's the beauty of New England. A little bit of this and a little bit of
yes,
that. But
absolutely.
Um, so I just wanted to do a little wrap up of 2024 and what's happening in DC. What are you doing for President Trump? What's your roles and how does it really affect New Hampshire and Manchester? You know, all these executive orders and Caroline Lovett. Oh my God, love her, making
Isn't
us.
she killing it?
She is
She's
killing it.
absolutely,
Yes,
yes. She's making New Hampshire proud for sure.
for
Um,
sure.
well, I've been working. I was working on the inauguration. Everybody was focused on that, and I've also been doing some work as far as uh, transitioning, getting the Trump agenda launched in the various agencies. I've been working over in Department of Ed and a little bit over in DoD as well. And obviously, the Biden administration has not made it easy for us. They have they're obstructing us almost every turn. For example, right after the election, we started requesting that we get our landing teams into the various agencies so that we could understand what was there and what had to be done prior to the president being inaugurated. And they had every kind of roadblock, guardrails, security clearances that were over the top. So our landing teams, for example, in Department of Ed, our landing teams didn't even get into the agency until a week before the president was inaugurated. So that gave us virtually no time to really understand what was going on, which obviously was the goal of the Biden administration. And again, they did everything they could. For example, Biden signed an agreement with the union that covers the Department of Ed that extended the contract until 2028 and also put in there that all of its members could continue to work remotely 5 days a week.
Mm.
And that was signed on January 17th, 3 days before the president took office. Now, one of the things that the president did is he signed an executive order that said, you know, we're not going to honor that contract. Any contracts that were signed within 30 days of my inauguration are going to be pulled back and reviewed
Mhm.
because obviously that was not a good faith contract that was done by the Biden administration. And it really ties the hands of the president and his administration. Our landing team went into, for example, the Department of Ed the day that the president was inaugurated, and their first job was to go through and sort of see what DEI was in the agency and start getting it removed from the website and so on. And there were 18 people working on that, and literally they worked the first week, the second week. They hope to finish this week with just purging the DEI out of the Department of Education because it is so pervasive. It is in every single thing that you touch. They're going through literally thousands upon thousands of documents, removing all of the requirements, DEI requirements that have been put in place. Uh, we knew it was bad, but I don't think we knew how pervasive and how overwhelming the DEI was within the department. And of course, we're getting, there are people in the department who are good people, who are, I like to call them closet Trump people, who are there to support the president and his agenda. But there's a significant number of people who are out to sabotage anything and everything that the president's doing. As an example of the uh, officer in charge of DEI, they changed the name to Workforce Engagement Officer,
Mm.
so that and of course they think we're stupid, we can't figure this out, but that's the length that they're going to try to burrow in and hide what they've been doing. It's just incredible. And I think, obviously, I'm hoping that what the president is doing is what the people elected him to do, and the people are very supportive of it, the American people. And so I'm hoping that when you look at us, New Hampshire, which is a Republican state for the most part, um, that's what we should be doing in the state of New Hampshire and in our various cities like Manchester and Nashua. We should be following the lead of what the president is doing at the federal level, and looking at the whole DEI gender issue. The president has signed an executive order that there'll only be two sexes recognized
Mhm.
by the federal government. That's male and female. And I think going forward, that should be something that's being adopted, not only at the state level, but the county and city level as well. And I'm sure you've had some run-ins with DEI and
Yes.
the gender issues in Manchester as an alderwoman. So
Yes.
what are you folks doing about it?
Right now we're just peeling back the curtains. We had to me, we did take out some diversity, equity, and inclusion out of a committee this past week. And then I spoke with HR about, what is actually within the workforce. And there are videos when you come onto and be an employee of Manchester. To me, I mean, as a woman, as being brown and being mixed, I'm like, I'm I don't feel comfortable. For me, everything should be merit based. And my friends that are black, there's so many that are like, you know what? One of my good friends, Avalon, he went to be a, oh my gosh, I think he trained to be a police officer, and then when he got there, he's like, they're like, oh, this is perfect because you fit, and he's like, wait, 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 I don't want people to think that because I'm black, that's why I'm here. I want people to know that I earned it, and that's where we don't realize that when we jump on these things that we think are being respectable, we're actually not respecting people at all. So we need to be pulling it right out. So there's a lot of people that feel that way.
And again, as we move forward, they just announced, now that they've got Pete Hegseth as you know head of the Department of Defense, and they're getting rid of, in DoD, they're getting rid of all of the DEI requirements, and they're getting back to, we want the most qualified people to do the
Yeah.
job. Uh, they have had, in December, they had the best recruiting month in the military in 15 years.
Wow.
Because people are like, yes, our country is back. There's somebody that is running the country that we respect, and people are, young people are looking at the military in a totally different way, and that's the underlying current that we don't see,
Hmm.
that has been impacting us across the board. People, do not, in general, do not support the radical shift to the left that the Democrats have done. And because of that, and because they're so vicious about attacking anybody who questions their motives or DEI or anything else. People have been silent, but
Mm-hmm.
they 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 let people know in other ways. Like the recruiting was at an all time low under Biden because of the way they were running the Army and the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force. Don't want to leave out the Air Force
Yeah.
and or Space Force, but you know, people just were like, it's not being run right,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be part of it. And Donald Trump came along and said, this is the way we're going to do things, and we're going to base things on um, not some, crazy label that we've slapped on you, but we're going to base it on who you are and how well you perform and on what you do as an individual. And you're not going to have this group think and all of this other nonsense that's being shoved down people's throats. I mean, you look at the military, they're there, and the purpose of the military is to defend the country.
Mm-hmm.
It may sound crude, but we train people to kill
Mm-hmm.
because that's what happens in war. You have to be able to defend the country and fight for your country when it's necessary. Donald Trump is somebody who doesn't want to have a conflict. He wants to have a powerful military
Yeah.
to prevent a conflict. But if there's a conflict, we've got to have people who can go out and fight.
Yeah.
That's what their job is. And, we've, under the Biden administration, there was so much wokeness in the military, and they weren't capable of doing what they're supposed to do to defend this country. And that's why people weren't joining the military. Now you finally got a commander in chief that they respect, and they're having unbelievable response. And people are supporting the president by joining the military, young people, and that shows you what an impact he has had um, on our young people. They feel they have a future now in America where they didn't have a future under the Biden administration, and this crazy left uh, movement that happened with the Democrats. And it's sort of sad to watch the Democrats. I've been in D.C. I spent almost all of January in D.C. I mean, their heads are exploding, and they don't know what to do. And I looked at who they elected as the chair and vice chair of the DNC, and it's like these are the same crazy left wing woke people that were there during the Biden administration. They think that they had a messaging problem. They don't
Mm.
think there was a problem with their message. They think they had a messaging problem, and they don't have a messaging problem.
Yeah.
Their message stinks,
Yeah.
and that's to put it bluntly. Nobody liked their message, and as I've said many times,
Mm-hmm.
this was an election about common sense and normalcy, and it's so exciting to see what's going on in DC, the transformation that's going on in DC, and the Democrats are being, Donald Trump is flooding the zone with all of
Mm-hmm.
his executive orders, and it's being very effective. He's getting things done. Um, Promises made, promises kept. But now we have to, people like you and the other aldermen in Manchester, your job is to take that to your level.
Mm-hmm.
It's to use Donald Trump as an example
Mm-hmm.
and what is happening at the federal level and say we can do that in New Hampshire as well because that's what the people want. That's what the people voted for. And, that's why we had such great results in the election. We didn't quite get Donald Trump over the finish line, but we took a significant number of additional House seats, including in Manchester.
Yes.
We took some key Senate seats, like Victoria Sullivan in Manchester.
Amen to that.
So that's Manchester saying
Yeah.
we believe
Yeah.
in what's happening here,
Yeah.
and we support what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually had a number of people who've come up to me who were very skeptical of Trump, and I won't name names, but they were strong supporters of the other
Mm-hmm.
Republican candidates. And I was talking to one of them yesterday, and he was like, Steve, he says, I was very skeptical of Trump. He says, right now, I'm his biggest cheerleader. I love everything he is doing. And that's being transferred down to the level
Hmm.
of, the state house, the legislature, the Senate, and hopefully also in the towns and cities like yours.
Yeah, we need common sense. We need strong leadership. We need peace through strength. There's just so many things. We're just so grateful, and I think it is so important that people have spoken, and we're actually more comfortable getting uncomfortable with talking about this because we don't want to offend people, but we do need to talk about the truth. What is the truth? Promises made, promises kept. And that is what we have to do as leaders. And we do have to lead, and I'm grateful for President Trump and for you and everything that you're sharing today. Caroline Lovett being a strong woman, a strong leader for Manchester, for our nation, and speaking the truth and calling it all out. We do not want men in girls' bathrooms. We kids do not need to be confused. There's a Chloe, I can't remember her last name right this moment, but she was a detransitioner. And when she spoke, she spoke up at the Senate in New Hampshire, House of State House, and then she did speak in Congress too recently. But this mass manipulation to make us feel uncomfortable in our bodies. I mean, who feels comfortable in your body going through puberty? We need to support our children, not confuse them. And I think that I'm eager to find out what exactly is going to happen with the Department of Education because it really affects our children and what's going on. And for instance, they are not the teachers and administrations in Manchester are not allowed to tell the parents if the kids are confused, and people don't realize that that's actually a thing, and we need to get rid of that. There needs to be parents in control of their children's lives, guiding them, not teachers keeping secrets and administrations that they're told they cannot share, whether they're going through a transition or not. So, just so grateful for the executive orders, but I'm curious on how that actually impacts from an executive order right down to, city level.
Well, there's a couple things going on, and obviously we're only into the third week of his administration, which is hard to believe given how much has actually occurred. But we're he's laying the groundwork, which now states can say if the federal government is doing it, maybe we should look at doing it. It gives everybody a little bit of cover. It puts the Democrats and I say Democrats, but there's a lot of Democrats who don't believe in the
Right.
craziness that's going on as well. You've got a group within the Democratic Party that is far left, and they want to control our lives, and they want to take the parents out of the role of being parents, and they want to substitute the state
Mm-hmm.
as the person who raises their children. So that is classic as far as what the communist system did, which was the state controlled the education of the kids, the raising of the kids, the indoctrination of the kids, and the parents had virtually no control over it. That's what they're leaning towards when they take away the rights of parents to actually be involved in raising their children and educating their children and knowing what their children are learning and what they're being taught. I think that's an important part of parenting, and you as a parent want to instill your values in your children, and that's your right to
Mm-hmm.
do that. And they're saying no, it's not your right. The state is going to instill the values that they believe your children should have, not the values that you have. And it really is a very slippery, dangerous slope that they're going on, and we need to stop it. Thank goodness that the president was elected, because I don't know where we would be right now if the Democrats would continue to be in control, because exerting. They have done so much damage already, and another 4 years that I don't think we would have been able to recover as a country. So we're in a very good place. The Department of Ed is going to be reconfigured. There's a lot to do. The president said his ultimate goal is to get rid of the Department of Education. Certain key agencies within the department will be placed in other departments. But his goal is to basically block grant and send the monies directly to the state without all the federal strings that they've attached over the years. Many of the rules and regulations that have been enacted by not only the Department of Education but all the other departments are tied in, are illegal. Under the Chevron decision that the Supreme Court came out with in 2024, the rulemaking has gone, the various agencies have stepped over the line, and their rulemaking has actually become lawmaking, and they are not allowed to pass laws. That's the job of Congress. So we're going in as an administration and looking at all the rules and regulations that have been passed by the bureaucracy and saying all those rules, those are unconstitutional. If you want those rules, go to Congress and have Congress pass a law to enact those rules. But you, as a bureaucracy, do not get the opportunity to make law. That's not your job. And so we're going to start. And in the first administration, the president initially said, for every new regulation we pass, I want to get rid of 2. At the end of the term, for every new regulation that went into effect, he got rid of 11.
Wow.
Now he set a goal just the other day and said for every new regulation that we enact, we have to get rid of 10. So he's picking up where he left off. I can only imagine where we will be at the end of his term. I'm expecting that we'll be getting rid of 20 or 25 regulations for every new regulation that's adopted. And that's going to free up states to really be creative with their educational dollars if all the federal strings that are attached to it are gone. And it's like, here's the money. You guys decide in New Hampshire how best to spend this money for the students in your state. And we're not going to impose this federal overreach that's attached to the money that you get. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we see over the next unfolding over the next 12 to 18 months is a lot less regulations and a lot more freedom for the states to be creative and do great things with their educational system and in a whole bunch of other areas as well.
That is so amazing and so grateful. I just, for me, we all learn differently. And so that is brilliant. And we're going to be able to bring common sense and true accountability and transparency to our education, which is
Exactly.
priceless.
And the president is really big on charter schools, homeschooling. I know our Commissioner of Education, Frank Edelblue, is has been extremely supportive of charter schools and homeschooling, and this is going to give him even more freedom to be more creative. Of course, we do have people who are going to be fighting this tooth and nail,
Yeah.
and that's obviously the teachers' unions. But I wonder sometimes whether the teachers' unions' job is it should be about the kids first, and that's we've lost sight of that, and they lost sight of that at the Department of Education. It should be the students that are first and foremost in everybody's mind as we look to improve, because we've gone from being one of the top educational systems in the world to being slightly above third world countries. I mean, 40% of the numbers just came out. 40% of fourth graders can't read. I mean, that's disgusting.
With all the money that's spent, it's insane.
And all they want is more and more and more money, and yet our scores go down. The class sizes. I know in my little town of Thornton up north, I mean, the average salary for a teacher is up to $73,000. There, the class size is down to 8.2 kids on average.
Mm-hmm.
So between 8 and 9 kids in a classroom, and there's a teacher, there's an aide. It's like it's crazy. I mean, you know,
Wow.
I'm dating myself, but when I went to school a long time ago, we had 35 kids in the class,
Yep.
and our classes were you know, I learned very, very well. I did,
Mm-hmm.
I could read in third grade.
Yep.
So uh, the educational system has missed the mark on what they're supposed to be doing, which is educating our kids and creating a workforce that can compete in the 21st century
Mm-hmm.
and well beyond. And we're not doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
most schools are most businesses that hire people out of high school have to retrain them, or even
Mm-hmm.
out of college. They have to teach them some basics because they didn't learn it.
Mm-hmm.
And they come up with, oh, well, we're teaching them how to think critically and this and that. Well, how do you think critically if you can't read?
Yeah,
you know
that's a problem. Yeah.
and I remember way back when my daughters were going to school,
Yeah.
they said in the first and second grade you learn to read. After the second grade, you read to learn. So we have to teach them to read,
Mm-hmm.
and then once they know how to read, they can learn more.
Yeah.
But if we can't, in the fourth grade, they can't read, 40% of the kids can't read, now they're falling behind because they're
Yeah.
supposed to be reading to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't even read. They haven't learned to read yet. And,
And
and, and shame on the teachers and the teachers' unions for this horrible situation that's happened with our kids.
yeah, for pushing our kids through when they really need to learn the basic skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. So I
And
know
I
we only
have to
have one
ask,
minute left.
okay,
So first of all, thank you so much for coming on and sharing and for all you do. And
oh,
any little wrap
I
up?
get carried away sometimes, so sorry about that.
No, I love it. I love it. We need to knowledge up. We need to take control. We need to speak up. Any big things that we need to?
Basically, take a lead from what is happening in Washington with President Trump at the state and local level and
Awesome.
say, if they can do it at the federal level, we
We
should
can
be
do it.
able to do it in our town or our city.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to take his lead and we're going to continue on and we're going to continue to make America great again. Thank you, Steve, for joining me. Until
You're
next time,
welcome.
stay chill and hi
Have,
to Ellen.